All right, let's jump right into it. Microsoft just dropped some new guidance that could really, and I mean really, change how you think about your website's content, especially now, in the age of AI.
So picture this, right? You've poured weeks into creating the perfect, most up-to-date web page. But then, someone asks an AI search tool a question, and what happens? It pulls an answer from some old, dusty, maybe even temporary version of that same page. Super frustrating. Today, we're going to dig into exactly why that happens and what you can do about it.
Okay, so the root of the problem. It starts with something we've talked about in SEO for years, but now it is absolutely critical in the age of AI. And that is, of course, duplicate content.
And Microsoft is being super clear about this. They're basically saying that when their AI systems crawl your site and find a bunch of similar-looking pages, they get confused. They have to try and figure out which one is the real source of truth, and honestly, they don't always nail it.
So what is actually going on inside that AI's brain, so to speak, when it finds all these lookalike pages? How does this confusion even start? Well, it all boils down to this idea of near duplicates. And we're not talking about exact copies here. We're talking about pages that are just so similar, the text, the titles, the whole message, that the AI has a tough time telling them apart. It doesn't see individual pages, it just sees this big family of content.
And check this out. This is the key insight, straight from Microsoft's own principal product managers. They explain that these large language models, the AI, they basically lump all these similar URLs into a single cluster. And then, and this is the crucial part, the model has to pick just one page to represent that whole group. You can see how that's the exact moment the wrong page can get the spotlight.
And this clustering, as they call it, has some pretty serious consequences. It totally blurs the signals you're sending. It makes it really unclear what each page is for. You end up literally competing with yourself, watering down the authority of your main page. And get this, it can even slow down how quickly your most important updates get seen.
All right, so where does all this duplicate content usually come from? If you can understand the sources, you can start to find it on your own site. Let's diagnose it.
Microsoft points to 4 main areas where these near duplicates tend to pop up. It's a mix of content decisions you might make and some more, technical stuff.
Yeah, just think about it for a second. Every time you republish an article somewhere else, or you spin up a slight variation of a landing page for a marketing campaign, or maybe you have different pages for different regions that are basically identical, all of those are creating these confusing little content clusters for the AI.
And you cannot, absolutely cannot, forget the technical side of things. Seriously, simple stuff that's often invisible to us can create totally separate versions of the same page for a search engine. We're talking about things like tracking parameters in a URL, having both HTTP and HTTPS versions of a page live, or even something as tiny as a slash at the end of a URL. All of that can create a duplicate.
Okay, but here's the good news. Microsoft isn't just pointing out the problem. They're giving us a really clear strategy to fix it. And it all boils down to one simple idea: consolidation.
Yeah, their whole message is about pulling everything together. The goal is to cut down on that overlap and make sure that one single authoritative page has all the juice, all the power, and sends all the right signals. One page to rule them all, basically.
And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. You've got the messy situation on the left with all these weak, diluted signals that just confuse the heck out of the AI. What you want is to get to that clean state on the right, where one single page is sending this powerful, concentrated signal. It becomes the undeniable source of truth.
So how do you actually pull this off? Well, you can use the standard tools of the trade. Canonical tags are a big one. They're like a little signpost that tells search engines, hey, this one is the master copy. Then you've got redirects, which just forward old pages to the new one. But Microsoft also gives a shout out to their IndexNow protocol, which is a much faster way to tell search engines about your changes, like almost instantly.
Okay, let's bring this all home. Why does this matter so much right now? Let's get to the crucial takeaway for anyone making content today. First things first, let's clear up a huge misconception. Having duplicate content isn't about getting a penalty from a search engine, not in the old school way we used to think about it. You're not getting punished.
No, the real risk is something way, way bigger in today's world. It's a straight-up AI visibility killer. It makes your best, most important content practically invisible to the very AI systems that are quickly becoming the main way people find information.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway from what Microsoft is telling us. Think about it. AI-generated answers are becoming the front door to information. So making sure your content is the one that gets picked as the definitive source, well, that's not a best practice anymore. It's a flat-out requirement for any content strategy that wants to succeed.
So this all leaves us with one final and really critical question to ask yourself. Take a good, hard look at your content and your URLs. Are you just making more content, or are you building the single authoritative source that an AI is going to choose? Is your strategy actually ready for this new AI-first world?